Suge Knight wrongful death case ends in a
Yikes.
mistrial. So this case stems from the incident in 2015, and this is when they were making Straight Outta Compton. And so there were two individuals that got into an altercation with Suge Knight, and so it was Terry Carter and Cle Bone Sloan. And so I guess in response to the altercation, Suge Knight got into his truck, ran them over,
Mhm.
and ended up killing Carter.
You
So
know, there's
then,
that footage too. That was they had it on tape. They had the security footage. That like I
oh
remember when that
boy.
happened, you could watch it happen. It was crazy.
Well, and so what ended up happening is that we've had a couple of legal proceedings. Obviously, on the criminal side, there was prosecution and a verdict. And Suge Knight is, now serving a 28-year sentence, I believe, in prison. So that's kind of one vertical of what ended up happening as a result of voluntary manslaughter. So
Mm.
the one thing with voluntary manslaughter is that we're talking about manslaughter, so meaning that there had been an element of provocation, right? So there had been some kind of issue. I don't know, obviously, what the guys did, but of course, in response to words being spoken or fists or things like that, you don't run
Mm.
someone over.
Mm-mm.
But in any case, so then we had
He
now a
stepped on that
civil.
gas. He stepped on that gas. It's not funny, but like just oh my god, on a movie set. He was on the movie set.
Well, and of all the things that people have claimed that he has done in the criminal realm, like this is the thing that got him
That
thrown
got
in,
him.
in
Yeah.
prison. But in any case, so there was a civil trial. So let's talk about that. So that civil trial recently concluded, and unfortunately, we had like what's the equivalent of a hung jury. So let me go actually right back to. All right, so this was the equivalent of a mistrial, and the reason why this is kind of interesting and it stood out to me is because the judge ruled that because only 5 of the 7 jurors had ruled in a certain way,
Mhm.
that it was a mistrial and they needed a unanimous vote. Okay, and that's not normal for most civil cases. Now, I'm not a practitioner in California, but it seemed to be that there was almost this heightened standard, and it was similar to like a criminal trial, right? So in criminal cases, we have to have a unanimous verdict from the jury. So, that was a little surprising just because we only had 5 out of the 7. And so now it's a mistrial, which means they have to essentially start over.
That's pretty close. That's a pretty close.
Well, and that's what his daughters said afterwards. And they go, we were at least happy to know that the majority of everyone was kind of, on our side.
Yeah, no, I mean it's that's pretty crazy. Like it's pretty crazy. And no, and that was when we first were discussing what kind of stories we were, talking about. That's what I asked you. I was like, "Oh, are you, is that usual to have something like that? I mean, if it's not a criminal case, if it's not like a criminal murder case, like why does it have to be a unanimous decision or why does there even need to be a jury?"
Yeah, it's so like in criminal cases, you'll have a clear and convincing standard, but it also comes down to state rules, right? So, for example, we covered the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and in that case, and pursuant to Virginia rules, they had to have a unanimous decision, right? And so
Mm.
that was a little bit odd. So we don't typically see that. I think Oliver even had a question about this. So Oliver on YouTube, how can they not meet the standard in civil court when it's criminal court? He was found guilty beyond all reasonable guilt. Well, we have kind of two separate proceedings, right? So in the civil, we have the family, the estate bringing this, and I think I when I was talking about the daughters, kind of giving a quote, I was talking about the daughters of Terry Carter. They were ones that said, we were glad that obviously the majority of the jurors were on our side for our dad. But in any case, it really just comes
But it
down
was still
to
pretty
each state is
split.
different. 5 out of 7.
That's pretty split. That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it's just when it's tough when you just kind of know the legend that is Suge Knight, and then coupled with just seeing like, I mean, it seems more like in his easier for him just to get out of the car and maybe just punch somebody if it's that serious. Like he really took it up a notch. This isn't
Yeah,
just,
and I
I
guess
mean, Vanilla Ice getting hung outside of a window, or the balcony.
Well, and then I guess so he pled no contest to the criminal charges, and so no contest is basically admitting or I'm sorry, not admitting any kind of guilt, but saying that the prosecutor likely has enough evidence, to result in a conviction. So he did take a plea deal, and with that plea deal came the 28-year sentence. And then the kind of the last piece of this that I was curious about was we covered recently the fact that Snoop Dogg had purchased Death Row Records, right? And so, being a co-founder of Death Row Records, my question was, did Suge Knight still have any interest or ownership in Death Row? Right? Did he get to participate in that purchase? Because just because you're in jail, you still get to receive the benefit of your assets, right? With an exception, obviously, it can't be like you can't write a book about murdering someone and then get paid for that. That's not going to fly. But as it relates to his ownership in Death Row Records, and what I found, I have to confirm this, but what I found right before the show was I guess there was a judgment against Suge Knight for over $100 million. And so there was a receiver appointed. And so kind of processing his, assets, which included his ownership share in Death Row Records. So he lost. He basically lost it.
Oh man. Yeah, no, that guy is trouble. Trouble.